It's Sunday morning and I was hoping to go out for breakfast with the family today, but instead we're at a Buddhist temple. This is the graveyard area. Buddhists aren't buried, they're cremated and their ashes interred in various places. And if they can afford it and can afford a little plot of land and one of these things, they can have their ashes interred here. And we'll be back in the graveyard area a little later in the day for reasons I'll explain later in the video. There's a festival going on today. It's actually the second part of the festival. And we're at a Buddhist temple and you'll see Buddhist monks around. So you might think it's a Buddhist festival where it has absolutely nothing at all to do with Buddhism. It's another example how Thais have merged Buddhism with their own belief system, which is basically based around animism, and how they've adapted Buddhism to suit their own belief system. The festival is known as Dön Sip. Dön is month and Sip is 10, so 10th month. And you might think, well, we're only in September, which is the 9th month, but it's referring to the lunar calendar. And there are more lunar months than calendar months, so we're already into the 10th lunar month. There are all sorts of belief systems in Thailand. Obviously there's Buddhism, and then there's the Muslim community that have their own beliefs. There are Thais that believe in Christianity. There are a lot of Chinese Thais, and they've got their own belief system, a lot of which is based around ancestor worship. And this particular festival is more aligned with the Chinese belief system. It's all about ancestor worship. I don't know very much about this festival. All I do know is that it's only celebrated in southern Thailand, and I'm not sure how extensively it's celebrated in southern Thailand, whether it goes right up to Chumpon or not that far. And I'm also not sure how widely it's celebrated down in the sort of deep southern provinces, which are mainly Muslim. But it's a big thing here in Songkhla province, and I also think it's quite big in Phattalung. There's a temple dog underneath the table. This festival is in two parts, and today is the second and final part. The first part was around 2 weeks ago, I think. I've been trying to find out exactly when the first part was by asking people, but it's a complete waste of time. Most of the people here are sort of rural folk from the south. They speak the southern dialect only, which I have a problem with. And without appearing to be unkind, they're not generally the most sort of educated of people. And if they're approached by a Phattalung, then they assume that the Phattalung speaks no Thai, they speak no English, and so, you know, it's a waste of time trying to have a conversation, so they just don't listen. And it's quite frustrating, so I've just given up now trying to ask people questions. As I said earlier, it's really about ancestor worship, and the belief is that on the first day of the festival, all of their deceased ancestors come back to this world for a bit of a holiday, stay here for a couple of weeks, and then today they all go back to where they came from. I don't know if they really believe this, so I guess a lot do, but it seems to be generally more of a social occasion. It's a very big thing with my wife's family. All of her family members come to us every year. It's quite an important festival for them. And it's also important to them to make merit, tambun. So they bring food to the temple and donate money to the temple. Here are Thais making merit by donating money to the temple. So they either put their money directly into one of these bowls or into one of these envelopes. From what I've experienced, like through my wife's family, Thais don't just go to any temple for these festivals. They always have their preferred temple. So My wife's family always comes to this temple for this particular ceremony, and for the Tok Gatin, this is this festival where they donate robes to the monks. They always go to a temple in Nakhon Sri Thammarat, which is where the family originally came from. As ever, there's a lot of food at these events. My wife went to the market this morning to buy food, then she came home, was doing a load of cooking to make food to bring here, and also the food vendors do quite good business. So this guy is selling kai, la top, tale noi. So fried fish eggs from Tale Noi in Phattalung province. Tale Noi is a really beautiful wetlands reserve with lots of birds, lots of fish, buffaloes, lots of wildlife. I haven't been there for a few years, but I'm desperate to get back fairly soon. In the early stages, the emphasis seems to be on food. A bit later in the day, there will be a more formal ceremony in this hall. There will be monks, they will listen to the monks, and the monks will do some chanting. And then finally, the families will go to pay respects to their deceased ancestors in the graveyard, which we saw a little bit earlier. Because this is a big thing with my wife's family, when we first got married, I used to come along just to please her, and then after a few years I stopped coming, and the only reason I've come today is firstly to do a quick video, and secondly my son absolutely refused to come, and the only way to get him to go was if I went as well. So that's why I'm here today. I've been to a few temples where there haven't been monks in residence, but at most temples there are monks in residence. This is where they live, and you can see some robes that have been washed and have been hung out to dry, and there are always a good selection of animals. Here we have chickens, dogs. I've only seen one cat today. This temple also has nuns, Merchi. I've just spoken to this lady who comes from Surat Thani, and she's explained to me that a lot of people bring animals here to release. They're animals that they don't want to look after themselves, and they don't want to kill, but they want someone else to look after them, but not them, so they just release them at the temples. And that gives the temples a huge problem with all these animals. Just had a chat with the nun. She's been a nun for 6 years, and she's been here for 6 months, but she doesn't really like it because the area is too busy. So she's planning to move to another temple in Banglam district of Songkhla, which is sort of more in the countryside, Naipa. And she's looking after 9 dogs. She loves animals, and she's had them all vaccinated, and they've all been neutered, and they're going with her. The more formal part of the ceremony has now begun, and the monks are doing their chanting. This is another part of the ceremony that I don't really understand, but everyone's queuing up with small bowls of rice and putting the rice into bigger bowls. I'm not sure where this rice is going. And here are my wife and son just doing it. I don't know where all this food goes. There's a huge amount of food. It's far too much for the monks in residence, so I honestly don't know where it goes. Okay, another question answered. I've just asked this lady in the black and white blouse where the rice is going, and some will go to the monks and the rest will go to people in difficulty, kon lambak, like people with financial difficulties, so it will help the local community. It looks like the ceremony in the main hall is now over, and I expect that fairly soon we'll be on our way back to the graveyard to pay respect to dead ancestors. And the language problems I have here are really frustrating. Okay, my Thai is not good, it's heavily accented, I used the wrong tones and it must sound quite strange to Thais. But it's exactly the same when Thais speak English to me. You know, it's typical Thai English. But if I listen and try to understand, I can understand. And with Thais, if they open their ears and listen to me and try to understand, they can understand. But a lot just have this attitude that they won't be able to understand and they refuse to understand, which makes me really irritated. I assume this stuff was just donations to the temple as well, but apparently it's not. This is like kanom, sweets and candies for all the kids that are at the temple. So as soon as they get the signal, it will just be a free-for-all and the kids can grab what they want. Somewhere in here is my son. I just hope he's okay. It's pretty wild. The poor kid didn't get anything, he just got pushed out of the way. And it's not just kids, all of the adults are joining in as well. So they've just gone to the front and pushed all the kids out of the way. The anticipated trip to the graveyard isn't going to happen. My wife's mother and sisters have been already and paid their respects to dead ancestors. So my wife isn't going to go, so we're going to go home. I hope you've enjoyed this little look around a typical temple festival in southern Thailand, and more videos soon. And it looks like this guy is going home too.